Another day, another month, another year, and still there is massive uncertainty as to whether or not the finance minister will stay or whether he'll go. Is it checkmate for either the president or his finance minister, maybe even for the country? This is the Moneymakers. I'm Bruce Whitfield. Tonight, he's here more often than I am, the Deputy Chairperson of Business Leadership South Africa, Bonang Mohale, about the organisation's statement saying it is gravely concerned the decision to recall the Minister of Finance, Pravin Gordhan, and his deputy, Mcebisi Jonas, before he even left for the United States, from what should have been a very successful investment roadshow, and the implications for a possible ratings downgrade. Monday morning, 10:30, everything is going swimmingly. Pravin Gordhan, Nikki Newton-King, who's got an office up here, Jabu Mabuza, they're all in meetings with investors and ratings agencies. And the next thing, I don't know how the message came through, maybe an SMS, come back home. No explanation. No, nothing. It was a very bizarre message. The finance minister complied, brought the DG back. Mcebisi Jonas didn't get on a plane to the United States. And our investors are left questioning, what on earth just happened? What is your reading of it, Bonang Mohale?
So, Bruce, just two things, honestly, right up front. And I'll keep it only at the level of principles. And I would really position business as part of the solution, not part of the problem, in spite of what others might lead us to believe. So for us as Business Leadership South Africa, our concern is, here's the first time probably in 5 years that we see green shoots in terms of the economy, that we see the rand outperforming other currencies. Then we see our economy is working. The finance minister, the deputy finance minister, with business, government, labor and civil society are sitting in front of foreign direct investors who are financing our programs a month every month. And they're doing a good job and they're well received and the message is good. And then this comes out of the left field, absolutely blindsided and not even an explanation. Unfortunately in business, share price is driven by rumor and speculation. What markets and investors want is regulatory certainty, stability and policy coherence. So we ask ourselves as business to say, if all we have to do as business, as labor and as government is to act in the best interest of South Africa Inc., why in God's name would we break something that is just beginning to work?
You know what's so incredible about where we find ourselves in, and you'll remember the days after 9/12, the 9th of December 2015, when there was wholesale panic, because in the same sort of way, a finance minister lost his job on a day, on the 9th of December, and there was no explanation for it. It was, thanks, he's done a great job, I've appointed Des van Rooyen as the new finance minister. Full stop, and there was no explanation at all. We went through Thursday, we went through Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday, when Pravin Gordhan was asked to be finance minister again. Again, no real explanation as to the process, but over time, we've come to learn exactly what transpired over those few days. And yet the president wants to do it all over again. Now, either he's got a short attention span, or he wasn't paying attention in the first place, or there is something distinctly far more ominous going on here. I'm inclined to go with the third option. What's yours?
And in that 4 days, we lost half what it takes us as a country, as a people, a whole year to collect in terms of SARS revenues. 500 billion. Just for that 4 days, it cost us more to refinance our debt. It cost the state-owned enterprises more in terms of financing charges. But the price of milk, meal, and maize went up for ordinary people. Now we're wanting to celebrate next week the reduced petrol price because it's a major input in inflation. It might not happen based just on the events. And for us as Business Leadership South Africa, we're hoping that there's still a time, especially around Ahmed Kathrada's funeral.
Did you see the scenes, or at least listen to the audio of the scenes, where former President Kgalema Motlanthe, the 9-month president of the country in between Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma, for those of you who've forgotten, and it's entirely possible to forget, it was a short period of time, read out the letter that Ahmed Kathrada had written to the president, pleading with him to do the right thing, to step down in the best interests of the country. It was like going, I don't know if you went to U2 when they came to FNB Stadium at the World Cup. But the response to that was like going to a U2 concert. People were dancing and singing and shouting their support. Pravin Gordhan gets a standing ovation at the funeral of Ahmed Kathrada.
I'm getting goosebumps.
No, completely, but this is what happened this morning.
Absolutely. So,
and they're members of cabinet there also standing.
As Business Leadership South Africa, we are imploring the president of the country, because we respect the office of the president, to say it's not too late. The market has spoken. Already our rent is depreciated, which means our CPI as well as our foreign currency will go the wrong way.
Yep.
The cost of living will increase. The poorest will be the ones that are hit the hardest, because the rich have tax havens, they've got investments, they've got cushions. If we love this country, if we love the 17 million people on social security, if we love the 55 million South Africans, if we want to give effect to the South Africa of Rolihlahla Nelson Mandela's dream to be the greatest nation on earth, we will posit ourselves as an internationally competitive country.
And if you love the contributions, at its basis level, if you love the contributions your taxpayers make to the fiscus to enable all of that to happen, start treating the country with a bit of respect.
I'm saying to the president of the country, think for a moment about the legacy you are going to leave us. People remember your last few months in office, not the first few years. By doing the right things, maybe, just maybe, it's not too late. What we want to happen is to make sure that this economy can grow, because only when the economy grows can we even talk about transformation, because we can start talking about the redistribution of wealth, not redistribution of poverty. In an environment where there's less for everybody, the economy is going down, it's not growing at 2%, 150,000 young graduates got onto the job market. Even the ones that have tend to hold on to their wealth. The conversation becomes that of racism, not of nation building. Everybody fights around the crumbs, whereas South Africa has more than enough for what all the 55 million of us need. All we have to do as the president is to create an environment in which business can thrive, where ordinary citizenry can feel needed and wanted. At the moment, everybody that we speak to, including the ANC top six, including the ASC cadres, including the real veterans, not 16-year-olds who have never run a fish and chip shop in their lives, are saying, let's act in the best interest of South Africa Inc. and let's do a little bit of soul searching, and let's take a deep breath and think about the next 20, 30 years based on the actions we take today.
What is it about the extraordinary power of President Jacob Zuma that keeps him in his job at a time where clearly support for him is diminishing? And every time we hit one of these inflection points, you think, oh, can't go further, and it does. And he's probably going to survive this, and he'll survive the next crisis, because he is a resilient, tough individual. Most of us would have given up long ago. What is it about him? Explain it to me. You know him better than I do. I've met him a couple of times. I've chatted to him a few times, and I find him hard to read.
The only way I think of it is to say I'm very explicit in my understanding about my role as a CEO, is the continuance and success of the organization.
Yeah.
The role of the president is the protection of the Constitution. It is to uphold, to respect and protect. When the apex court says you have failed your duty of office, it's a very telling statement.
But what is it about the structure of the African National Congress, an organization with 105 years of proud history, that allows it to continue to support somebody who's destructive to the long-term benefit of the entire country?
Like Ahmed Kathrada, it pains me to say which ANC.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, there are multiple ANCs. And that's the sad part. Through one action and one action only, the president of this country can halt the speculation, can prove the naysayers wrong.
He could have, but he's had 18 months in which to do it, 15 months in which to do it, and he's chosen not to.
Absolutely. And the timing at the moment, it's not appropriate. This country is going so well, in spite of our challenges.
Yeah.
The rating agencies have raised only 5 things. Work a little bit on growth. Make sure that your politics are sustainable. There's a piece around regulation. and your state-owned enterprise. That's all we have to do. It's not complex. It's not rocket science. Mr. President, work with us, work with your colleagues, work with the African National Congress, which one, but also work with business to solve the problems of this country.
Tell me about the work that's been done for the last 15 months, ever since South Africa delegation came back from Davos, where nobody else was interested in talking to us, so we spoke to ourselves. We had the first of the presidential working group meetings just before the budget speech, and then the Hawks pounced on Pravin Gordhan soon after that. But for the first time in South African history, in the 350 years of colonial history, let's call it that, from 1652 till now, where there's been a corporate structure of South Africa, to call it that, for the first time ever, business, labour, government and civil society have been sitting around the same table. For the first time ever.
And addressing the same issues.
It's got to be the most powerful force for good.
And how it has turned, I remember a moment when we were in Davos, we called a meeting as South Africans, as we normally do, to listen to the South African story, and it was empty.
Yes,
it demonstrated.
I was meant to be chairing a panel discussion with Lesitha Kganyago and Bruce Hemphill and Mike Brown, and I said to Lesitha Kganyago, you got to tell that one guy in the room that, sorry, we're not going to do it, and he didn't seem too bothered.
It demonstrated that our shine is gone. Now we're regaining our shine. People have made and confirmed appointments with the Minister of Finance in London. They've done the same with the Deputy Minister of Finance in the US of A. And the first day was full. The story was believable. It was credible. It was acceptable. It was internationally competitive. The next day, half of them didn't turn up.
Well, I spoke to Nikki Newton-King just last night, and she said they cancelled the meetings on Tuesday because people said, well, wait and see, thank you very much. And that's the very real risk of tinkering with the fabric of society, tinkering with trust. We're losing trust.
What we forget is that $1 competition is on steroids. An investor says, should I take it to North America, Southeast Asia, or even in Mexico, where the return on investments are higher and at least there's a bit of certainty. Here is 1.2 billion people, 54 countries that speak 2,000 languages that are in the cusp of growth that just need to be liberated, and yet our leaders are not working with us. That's the tragedy.
So what's the next step? What do? Do you go knock on the doors of the Union building and say, Mshlozi, let's have a chat?
So as Business Leadership South Africa, we have sent a letter asking a honest, transparent meeting with the top 6, asking for a meeting with the presidency, but also issuing a statement that says it's not too late. Honestly, this formidable partnership between government, business, labor and civil society, we need to use it as a force for good. At the moment, irrespective of the agendas, irrespective of December 2017 and the 2019 elections, our actions in the next few days will determine whether we become a winning nation or we become yet another failed African state. We are the crucible, the turning point. In fact, this is more than the tipping point. This is a question of life and death for the majority of South Africans.
Bonang Mohale, as always, thank you very much indeed. Deputy Chairman, Chairperson of Business Leadership South Africa. Interesting times indeed, but if you saw the footage, if you were at the Ahmed Kathrada funeral this morning and you saw the response of that audience paying tribute to a great South African and the response to Kgalema Motlanthe, who read out Ahmed Kathrada's letter to President Jacob Zuma, and you saw the response to Pravin Gordhan, who was part of the congregation who were there to pay tribute to Ahmed Kathrada, you've got to say that there's going to be a whole lot more to the story. Till next time, have a very good evening. Good night.